you believe in miracle? You still believe in miracles?
Yes.
Miracle happens, right?
Yeah.
That's very good. Because this is a very important to ask before I start talking. Because some people, they wouldn't believe what I'm going to say. Because non-Christian people would never believe in this. But Christian people are really going to believe this. Alright? Anyway, you know that Cairo city was established around 996 AD. So almost 1,000 years ago. The city was founded by who? By not Egyptian, but the city Cairo was not founded and named Cairo by Egyptians. By whom? By Mauritian or Moroccan kings. They called themselves Shia or Fatimite. Have you ever heard about Fatimite kings? Yeah, it's a very strong empire. Rose to the western part of Africa. It's a Muslim state actually. They call Fatimites, and as he rose very strongly in this area. So as power was gaining lots of gaining a lot of powers, the empire had decided to expand to the east, where Morocco, Egypt, which is to the east of Egypt. So they started to conquer Egypt and establish the city of Cairo. And the kings, or the Fatimite kings, were known as a very knowledgeable and a very arguable kings. They liked to talk about religion. They liked to talk a lot about art, and that's why when they come to Egypt, they found this established Cairo, and they starting showing a lot of tolerance to non-Muslims. Alright, Egypt at the times was inhabited by who? By Christians, by Muslims, and by Jews. So it's a mix, and it's been always like this forever. Alright, and so they started to call everybody for a peace talks and coexisting between the three religions. And moreover, they have gone farther than that to call one of the Christian to be a minister, appoint him as a minister. One of the Jews was appointed as a minister, and that's never happened in Islamic empires at that time. 1,000 years ago, it was very they were so powerful, and they had no acceptance for that. So I tell you that's because it's important to know that after they settled, after they conquered Egypt, and after they started to build the city, they have started. The kings were really likes to argue about religion, like he used to bring the Christians minister and the Jew minister to his presence and talks about religion. So the Christian can talk about his religion from his own perspective as a Christian, from the Bible, and the Jew who talks about his own religion from his own perspective from the Old Testament, which is Torah. Alright, you know that you don't believe, the Jew doesn't really believe in the New Testament. They only believe in the one chapter of the Bible, only the Old Testament. What? I'm coming. I have to tell you, this is What happened? Here we go. Someday, while they were together, the king at his presence, the Jew and the Christian, they were make some quotations from the Bible. The Christian saying something about the Jew, saying that Hosea says in his chapters, the donkeys know where to go, the sheep knows how to go home, but my people of Israel never follow it, never obey me. Oh, that's written in the Bible, and one of the chapters of Hosea. Who said that? Who said, the Jew or the Christian? The Coptic, the Christians. if you are a Jew and listen to me saying that about your people, that you are stiff-necked, donkeys is better than you, and he knows how to go home, but you don't follow your God. That's very offending. Exactly. And that is the situation. What happened that was very offending to the Jew. The Jew never forget about that. And once again, while they were together, they were talking about, in a few weeks, they started talking over about the religion again. And the Jew was really prepared at this time. He had some verses from Matthew 18. If you have a faith, says, if you have a faith as mustard seeds, what happens? Mountains. You move mountains, exactly. And that was the key words of our story. Move mountains. Why? Because the kings were listening to their argument between a Christian and Jew. And both of them, they arguing about something written in their books. And the king was very happy about this argument. He doesn't understand what's going on. But anyway, he's happy because he can use this argument to his favor. Like what? He said to the Christian, this is so, if your God is really strong, if your Jesus, what you call him Jesus, is strong enough, why don't you move the mountains of Cairo? Why don't you pray to your God and move the mountains away from here? I want to build my city, and I want to expand my city bigger and bigger and bigger. The Christian was saying, what? It's unbelievable what he's asking for. This is a miracle, because at that day, the king decided that if the Christian is not able to move these mountains as their God says in their books, the Christian is not any longer have to believe in the Christian, because they have a very weak and deaf God. So that's what happened. So he came. Why would they tell him the story? Because it's very related to what I said to the hanging message. Because at that night, the minister decided to go to where? To visit the Pope, the Coptic Pope, the Christian Pope, and telling him about what's the problem we are in. Not only in the The Bible says if your eyes cause you sin, what you do? You take it out. And this guy did literally what the Bible says. He doesn't think this is why he was named by the Virgin Mary to lead the prayers, lead Christians with the Pope, next to the Pope. And in like few weeks later, the Saint Simon, of course, there's lots of details, but I'm not going to go into details. I'll tell you the results. Saman led the prayers, led the Christians, led the popes. On that side, you can see them holding their hands, holding their crosses, their wooden crosses. Saying what? Saying, Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison. You know what is meaning Kyrie eleison? Lord, have a mercy, Lord, have a mercy, Lord, have a mercy. For how many times they had to say that? 400 times. They started saying Kyrie eleison, for 100 times to the north, 100 times to the east, 100 times to the south, 100 times to the west. In about I can tell you, in a few hours or minutes, as you pray and the mountain stopped, this mountain bounced like a basketball, fly like a flying carpet, and he moved 3 kilometers from its actual location, which is indicating of the geography book before the 10th century, the topography of the city something. After the 10th century, the topography of the mountain is somewhere else. Briefly, this is a miracle. I just wanted you to know about it, which is related to the place where we are now. Okay?
Is it written in the Bible?
It's not written in the Bible, but it's written in the oral history of the Coptic Christian of Egypt. If you go online, write down, if you Google, Saint Saman miracle of moving the mountain of Cairo, you will find the whole story written and many other lays. You can go through it and check it out. Okay, so let's go. Saint Saman, S-A-S-A-M-A-N. Chapter 11, verses number 1, called my son out of Egypt. You know how many times in the entire Bible Egypt were mentioned? More than like 70 times. Egypt in the Old Testament. Most of the old prophecies from Hosea, Isaiah, there was lots of prophecies about Egypt in the Old Testament. So that's the verses from Hosea, called my son. It's related to the journey of the Holy Family to Egypt. A lot of people doesn't really know that the Holy Family, after Herod the king's order or commanded to kill all the Bethlehem kids, the babies, the newborns, they fled, they went away, they escaped from the Israel, and they traveled to Egypt for 4 years, according to the Catholics and Orthodox manuscripts, which is not written in the Bible, by the way, because you're going to ask me, where in the Bible is this written? This is not written in the Bible. This is because we have two sources of the history, the written history and the oral history, which is said and written by historians. That's why it is. Okay. So anyway, the oral history, or the history of the Christian and the Coptic of Egypt, like I'm one of them, that says that the Holy Family traveled to Egypt across Sinai, coming from Jericho, Bethlehem, Jericho, and then coming to Sinai, Larish. You can follow the numbers. This is the main stops and the main highlights of the journey of the Holy Family, Jesus and Joseph and Virgin Mary, Larish, and then Tanabasta, which is close to the Nile, and then they went to Sama, Wadi Natron, and then back and forth, Matariya, all kinds of all Egypt, number 9. This is where we are. This is here, okay? And then went all the way down to the south for 4 years, 11 months. So if they lived in Egypt, that's why Egypt is so blessed. Egypt in the Old Testament had so many prophecies about the Jesus Christ. Like he says also in one of the chapters of Old Testament, I see the Lord coming riding a cloud in the middle of Egypt. This is written in the Bible. It was a prophecy said and mentioned in the Bible before Jesus was born by thousands of years. Alright? So many prophecies, if you search in the Bible, you'll find that there's lots of story and prophecies saying that Jesus will come to Egypt. Okay? Anyway, this is a map of Egypt showing you the places, the highlights of the trip and the journey of the Holy Family where they were. The next where we're going after that is the hanging. Nobody will believe. Underneath to see the buildings. It's closed. Alright? The Coptic Mona Lisa. why we would say that, why we would believe, a lot of people believes or knows that this icon is a very miraculous icons. Nobody knows who's the artist. It's incognito, unidentified artist. But if you look at the eyes of the Virgin Mary, you will see that from different angles, from right to left, if you walk around in a circle, you'll find she's tracking you, she's looking at you from different angles. Exactly like the Mona Lisa, the same perspective of the Mona Lisa. This icon, by the way, it's a priceless icon. Many of the American Institutes of Arts had tried many to buy this icon, and the prices goes up to $30 million. Yeah, Chicago Arts, the actual book, John, has been described by Jesus as the greatest who comes from a woman, the greatest man or greatest human. So if the greatest human is kissing a feet of a child, so people were saying, well, must be even greater than John. He is the Lord, he's Jesus Christ. So it's emphasizing on the divinity of our Lord Jesus Christ. There's a lot of symbol we can talk about it here. Simple. Like, I mean, it's a new as a Catholic. As a Catholic, you will never see this in any other Catholic, Catholic church before. One of the symbols we always call each others when we are coward, when we are disappointing someone. We always call each others. Don't be like an ostrich. Put your heads to the ground, or bury your heads to the ground, and don't face your problem. Don't confront your problem. Do you have the same thing in Philippines? Do you know that about ostrich? That it's burying its neck in the ground? But sounds and it seems very bizarre behavior. Why the ostrich, the female, will do that? And when the Coptic or when the old people starting to observe the life of the ostrich, they found the ostrich only does this when it's the mother do this and leaving her body exposed. She is not defending herself. She is ready to be attacked. She can be eaten alive because she is not seeing or looking who is coming from behind. Her neck buried to the ground. She does this, the action of going up from up to down. It's like Jesus Christ when he came from his empire down to earth and become a man like this. Simple, metaphoric. Okay? The babies cannot see the mom because they're still inside the shell. It's like us, we are the babies. We cannot see God, but God can see us. Upside down. The bottom of the book. It's in other words, it refers to what? Noah's Ark. Noah's Ark. What is the purpose of Noah's Ark? Why did Noah build his ark? To bring who inside? The believers, the good ones, and discarded the bad, the sinners. When you come to the church, you are what? Good or bad? You are the chosen one. So when you look into the symbol of the church, it's like a Noah's Ark, where you will be protected, where you will be put on your face in the guts. So the design and the architects of the church, it's a very metaphoric and it's a very symbolic related to what we believe as Christians. Sounds good? Okay. I want you to take me to the room where we can holding up the entire church.
Where's the other one?
That's one.
Where's the other one?
The other one, the other side. We cannot see it, but it's a square. And if you look from here, you will see how high, and you churches of Babylon 1,500 years. Can you imagine that? That's 1,500 years, and these pillars are still holding on to the whole construction of the Holy Land. One of the oldest churches in the world. So we just came to the what we call Saint Bertier, Bacchus, and Sergius, known as Abu Silga, shortly called Abu Silga. Right? The church is dedicated to two of the saints who actually were not Egyptians; they are Assyrian. They were a conscripted soldier to the Roman army during the time of the emperor, and they had give up their lives because as a conscripted soldier to the Roman army, cut it into torn into pieces and thrown where? In Euphrates and Euphrates rivers in Syria. These two famous rivers, Euphrates and Euphrates. So their body was thrown there, and traders were coming back and forth from Syria to Egypt, found their body, they collected the remains, and they brought it to Egypt and put it in these tubes. These two tubes you can see, cylindrical tubes covered with red garments. They call this relixes. It's as you call it Catholics call it. So that's why the reason the church is now called Sergius Bacchus. Okay? Maybe before we carry on the story and take you to more important things, you must be wondering what it is. One of their kings, they ruled Egypt for almost 300 years. Not all of them shows tolerance to the Christians. Some of them were very cruel. And one time they decided to do what? Decided during the Epiphany. You celebrate the Epiphany like we do. Okay? The Epiphany used to be practiced by Coptic, by Christians in the River Nile. So they go to the River Nile in the winter, holding their oranges, lanterns, holding their anything that contains water as a symbol of the Holy Spirit, as a symbol of the Epiphany. So they go swim at the river. It becomes like a habit or tradition to the Coptics, alright? But the king did not like that. So he started to ban this practice. He says no more Coptic to go to the shore of the Nile and swim and dump themselves in the Nile. It's forbidden. So what happened? What did the Christian do? Well, they stopped doing what they like, what they prefer, and they've been doing for centuries. No, they started to build in their churches small basins, small swimming pools. So during the Epiphany, they will come to the church, they will dump themselves here and enjoy themselves as they used to do for hundreds of years. Okay? So that's why some few churches has this kind of basin. It's not in use anymore, but it's to remember how this old Christians suffered from persecutions, from verbal, from practice. So you always find a way to do what you are used to do regarding to your faith and your beliefs. For a few couple of, they said from 7 to 10 days. While that time they were in chase. You know what I mean by chase? The oral history of the Christianity says that when Jesus and his mom and Joseph fled Bethlehem and went out of it, they still were in chase. They were still a Roman soldier were following them to Egypt. So that's the reason why when we look into the map, they never settled down in one place. They were moving from one place, stay here for 10 days, stay here for 5 days, move to another place for 4 days, 3 days. So they were always in motion. They never settled down in one place for 4 years because they were in chase. Their heads the family to where we are, they starting building the church you see around. So the church was not exist before. The well was exist, but the church wasn't exist. So now it turned into a chapel. This is where Jesus once stepped, once left, once slept, once he ate and drank. This is where the house of Virgin Mary for a few days, according to the Coptic oral history of the family in Egypt. And that's why this place is one of the major highlights of the Holy Family in Egypt, because they've been in this place. His feet bless the ground, and it's so beautiful to be around.
Hindi ko po alam. 11C, para nakita ko sa TV.